Don't you hate it when you buy a video game that depends on online dedicated servers, and when you go to boot up the game one day, the servers get shut down, rendering the entire game literally unplayable? Hi, I'm Raymond, and I'm a game developer who's published a handful of freeware games and currently working on my first commercial release, Project Feline. I don't consider myself an industry authority. I've never made a multiplayer or live service game, but I do remember a time when you got to keep the games that you paid for, and it was the games that I bought 10 or 20 years ago, games which you couldn't buy today, that inspired me to start developing my own games. And I would be enraged if the publisher came into my room and took them back from my shelf. But in March 2024, publisher Ubisoft shut down the servers for The Crew, a premium MMO racing game, rendering the experience inert for all who had paid for it. This enraged passionate gamer Ross Scott, host of the retro gaming channel Accursed Farms, who has consistently reported and lamented the killing of video games for many years. Like many of us, Ross has helplessly watched these cherished relics release and fade into the night, but this time he could endure no more. So he made like a gamer and rose up to create Stop Killing Games, a consumer movement to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games sold to customers. Specifically, the movement does not intend to obligate publishers to provide indefinite online support for their games, nor to re-architect their existing multiplayer titles into single-player ones. Simply that publishers handle end of life of their future games responsibly and leave them in a reasonably playable state for customers. Since April 2024, Ross has coordinated numerous approaches in challenging the status quo, but found the most effective path through the European Citizens Initiative, stating there is a strong chance the European Commission will pass new law to protect consumer rights, retain video games, and advance preservation efforts if 1 million signatures is surpassed. I've only loosely followed Ross for a short while, but it's clear to me that he sees video games for what they are. More than just disposable products, but relics of culture that ought to be preserved. He has zero video game credentials, but he was the only one who cared enough to challenge these anti-consumer practices, rally his fellow gamers together, and envision a world in which the medium of video games is better preserved for the gamers who come after us. The loudest critic of the initiative has been popular Twitch streamer, content creator, Twitch Hype Train world record holder, DEF CON badge winner, former Blizzard Entertainment employee, director of strategy of off-brand games, programming freelancer, government hacker extraordinaire, and current CEO of indie game studio Pirate Software, Jason Thor Hall. Man, that's a mouthful. This guy must really know his stuff. Thor, was shown the initiative on his stream, where he argued the initiative was unfeasible for various reasons, including but not limited to technical limitations, cost, intellectual property concerns, distrust of government regulation, lack of specificity, and concern over existing precedent for which the demands of the movement are based on. But rather than offer his extensive industry insights to fortify the demands of the movement so it may be more likely to succeed and protect the rights of his customers, he bashed the initiative and has since attracted overwhelming public criticism for what some see as deliberately misrepresenting the movement and weaponizing his larger public following to attack it and Ross in bad faith.
It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit. I dropped the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. Eat my entire ass.
Jason's reaction may seem unbefitting for a supposed 20-year industry professional with such decorated credentials, but having known of Jason's stream and his project for a while, I think he regularly overstates and misrepresents his accomplishments. I haven't worked at Blizzard for 7 years, but I can recognize the apparent incongruity between his authority and his ability. From what I can tell, he's been making indie games for no longer than I have, and like me, has much to learn. The wider public has been catching on to this now, and my feed has been bombarded with videos exposing Pirate Software for what it is. I'm not one to cover topical events. I'm covering this because I love video games and have dedicated years to building my own game for people like Ross who would deem them worth purchasing, worth playing, and worth preserving. And it's pained me to see what was a well-intentioned initiative about protecting gamers and video games devolve into more drama about Pirate Software. Ross Scott is a much more deserving recipient of our attention, and while the initiative has surpassed 1 million signatures, he still needs our help. now more than ever. In one of his recent videos, he expresses his frustrations with getting momentum behind the movement, his doubts as its figurehead, and reluctance to stay involved, wanting to leave the whole thing behind him after July in the hands of someone else.
I never wanted my involvement on the campaign to last this long. I kept hoping after launch, somebody with more reach and better at campaigning could just point people to the destination and get it done. But no, I've had to keep hauling that rickshaw.
Campaigning for this movement has cost him opportunities, income, and has no doubt taken an emotional toll. It's beginning to dawn on Ross just how monumental of a task this is to make his envisioned future a reality. And I don't blame him. Challenging the law is probably way more complicated than any of us could imagine. And I'm making this video for Ross to tell you that you are the one. And you've got to let it all go. Fear, doubt, disbelief. I say this because I've had these same doubts while developing my own game, and had I given into them, I would have quit Project Feline years ago. I started my journey with nothing. I had never worked at Blizzard for 7 years. I possess no formal training in art or programming, but I'm still here, making my game. And it was thanks to the community's attention of my work, their faith in me, generous support, and eagerness to play my game that I found in me that second wind to continue pushing forward no matter the squalls. And Ross needs our help. He needs that second wind. While Ross may see himself as a mere layman, lacking sufficient expertise to see this through, he stood up when no one else would to protect what he loved. There might be others more experienced with legal paperwork, or more technical knowledge of game development, or more charismatic campaigners, but where were they? Ross has a long way to go, but he's already come so far compared to where he was a year ago. He's put in insurmountable work in constructing and coordinating and promoting this movement, and has conducted himself exceptionally well, despite the setbacks and criticism levied against the movement and him personally. I really admire his humility and open-minded, constructive attitude when discussing this with developers and customers to improve the initiative for both parties. More encouragement and attention on Ross will accomplish way more for video games than criticism on Jason ever would. No amount more attention will give Jason pause to reflect on his conduct, for he's only collecting more reasons to believe that he is a misunderstood contrarian and the victim of the internet hate machine. It seems to me like, for Jason, this is less about video games and more about himself. I know from experience that it's a lot of work to be a public creator while making a video game, but I think this could be a lesson for him to better maintain his composure in the face of community pushback, like Ross had done, who, in the end, looks like is going to get the outcome he actually wanted. And isn't that what this is all about? Saving video games? We don't need more videos about Jason. We need more people celebrating the attitude Ross has brought to the table, for it's this attitude, not his credentials, that will stop killing games. Credit where it's due, Ross has had immense help in getting this thing moving, but it all began with him, and it just goes to show that sometimes the right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So if you share Ross's sentiment for preserving games, read more at stopkillinggames.com. And please check out Ross's website, Accursed Farms. It's so freaking cool. It's full of genuine charm and love of video games. He even has his own game dungeon, where he does long-form reviews of his favorite classic games. This is the kind of guy I'd want to make games for. We're going to rise up, not in the meme way, but actually, gamers, we must rise up for Ross.